Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. Okay, now children, how are you? Hope that you all are well. Okay, today we are going to solve paper 1 specimen, which is computer systems, specimen paper B. Before we proceed to the question, I want you all to follow the instructions first. In our paper 1, you have to attend all the questions. We are asked to use a black or a blue or a dark blue pen. You may use a pencil, an HB pencil, for drawing the diagrams or any graphs. You have to write down your name, center number and candidate number in the boxes that are provided at the top of each page. You have to answer in the given space. You are not allowed to use an erasable pen or correction fluid at all. We are not allowed to write anything on the barcodes. Remember, do not carry a calculator at all to the examination hall. The paper is of 75 marks. The number of marks are given at the end of each part in the brackets. And please be aware that you're not allowed to use a brand name at all, because that will not award you any mark at all. Hope that the instructions are very clear. Now let's proceed to the question. The very first question, let's solve. Binary is a number system used by computers. Hope that we all remember. 4 8-bit binary numbers are given to you. The values are given to you, and we are asked to tick any one box to show which binary value is the correct conversion of the denary number 50. Now, you all must have done this concept. You must all have done this very well. So the right answer for this question, that is a conversion from denary to binary for 50, is B. And you can simply add very quickly, which is 2, then 4 and 8 are off, then 16 and 32 are on. So 32 plus 16 plus 2 makes it 50. Second part of this question is, now you are given a hexadecimal number. Now be cautious. Although it is written 90, but remember, it's not a denary number. It's basically a hex value. And for that, what is the right answer? It's going to be C, because you are going to find out the binary in the form of 4 bits for firstly 9, which is 1001. And then you're going to find out the binary for 0, which is 4 zeros, again in a nibble form. So please be cautious that this is a little trick. They may trick you in this manner that they may give you a question that may not contain any hex value like A, B, C, D, E, F, and students may fall in trap too, may fall into the trap also. Part B, explain why a computer system can only process data in binary form. I mean, this is very simple. I mean, that we all know. Data is processed in a computer by using logic gates like zeros or ones combination that have only 2 states, which are 0 or 1. So if you want to score 2 out of 2, then you have to mention the 2 points in this manner, and only then you will be able to score 2 out of 2. Part C, 2 8-bit binary values are given to you, and you are supposed to add them. Again, very simple. You'll start from the left-hand side. You will, from the right-hand side, I'm sorry. You'll add up 1 and 0 is a 1, 0 plus 1 is a 1, 0 and 0 is a 0, 1 and 1 is a 0 with a carry of 1, 1 and 1 is a 0 with a carry of 1, 1 and 1 is a 0 with a carry of 1, again 1, 1 is a 0 with a carry of 1, and it will be the last value, MSB, 1 plus 0 will give you the value of 1. In this manner, your final answer will be 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. And that will give you 3 out of 3. Now, part D, 2 8-bit binary values are added. The result of this calculation needs to be stored in an 8-bit register. The denary result of this calculation is 301. This generates an error. State the name of this type of error and explain why this error occurs. By the way, if you can recall, what is the maximum value stored in 8 bits? Yes, if you can recall very quickly, if all the 8 bits are turned on, then what is the equivalent denary number? That's right, Ellie. It will be 255. And that is why you can see the value 301 is beyond 255. That's why it will result in an error that is called overflow. And the reason is very simple. The value is larger than 255. So all the bits required to represent the value cannot fit in the 8-bit register. By the way, it's a 3-mark question. Means 1 mark is for the writing down the proper error name, and 2 marks are for writing down the proper explanation. So if you have written 2 valid points explanation, you will be very easily able to score 3 out of 3. Isn't it easy? Okay, that's great. Question number 2. The contents of 3 binary registers have been transmitted from one computer to another. Even parity has been used as an error detection method. The outcome after transmission is no errors have been detected in registers A and C. An error has been detected in register B. Complete the parity bit for each register to show the given outcome. Now, remember, it's even parity, and parity in register A is 1 because there are 1, 2, 3 ones, and since register A was transmitted correctly, that's why a 1 is supposed to be added here. So what I'm doing is, since I know the register A and register C are correct, that's why value 1 is written here. Now let's move on to register C. It has 1, 2, 3. It means again the value 1 is going to come here because it is also the correct one. So in this manner, I got the value 1 here and I got the value 1 here. Isn't it easy? Now, be very cautious with register B. It says that register B has detected some error. So it means that value is 111. Please be cautious. This register B has an error. It means it was not following the even parity pattern. It was following the odd parity pattern. That's why they have detected an error here. So be cautious. If you write a 0 here, if you're doing the work in haste, you didn't read the question properly, then you may land into a problem that you write down register B also has a 0 parity. That is a wrong value. It should be a 1 here because the value is transmitted this byte is transmitted inaccurately. This register has some errors, and that is resulting in an error because it's now following the odd one, which is the wrong one. Yes, clear? Any issues? Okay, that's great. Now let's move on to question number 3. A student uses a laptop and a calculator for schoolwork. The laptop has a CPU that performs the fetch, decode, execute cycle. The CPU has several components, including the MDR and the ALU. Describe how the MDR and ALU are used in the fetch, decode, execute cycle. By the way, do we remember fetch, decode, execute cycle? Yes, that's great. Now, since it's a 5-mark question, it means that we have to write down 5 valid points here. First point, data fetched from RAM is stored in the MDR. Very simple. From MDR, the data is sent to ALU for processing. And in ALU, what happens is ALU performs calculations and logical operations. As you know very well, it's ALU, that is arithmetic logic unit, and that is what will perform arithmetic and logical operations. ALU has a built-in register, and if you remember the name of that register, do you remember? Yes, it's basically, that's great, it's accumulator, where it stores interim results of calculations. After calculations are performed, ALU sends the data to MDR, and data is sent from MDR to be written back to RAM. So in this manner, if you have written these 5 points, you'll be able to score very easily 5 out of 5. Isn't it easy? Yes. Now, after we are done with question number 3A, now let's move on to question number 3B. The calculator has an embedded system. Describe what is meant by an embedded system. It's a 2-mark question. It means that you have to write down 2 bullet points. It is built into a device. It has a single purpose, or it has a limited or dedicated function. it runs on firmware. It does not have additional peripherals. So if you know the definition of an embedded system, you can very easily describe it, and you will be able to score 2 out of 2 very easily. Both the laptop and the calculator have read-only memory. State one reason why both devices have ROM. So it's very simple. Since a ROM is used to hold the data that is permanent, so if you wrote the answer as they both need to store boot up instructions, they both need data that should not be deleted, that is non-volatile, that is permanent, it means that you can easily score 1 out of 1 for this part of the question. Any problems till now? May I move further? Okay. Question number 4. A student is concerned about the threats to their computer when using the internet. The student wants to use some security solutions to help protect the computer from the threats. Identify a security solution that could be used to protect computer from a computer virus, hacking, and spyware. Each solution, security solution, must be different. Be very clear. Now, first threat is computer virus. How can I protect myself? Very simple. Anti-malware, antivirus, that's perfectly okay. Or a student can say firewall. Now, be cautious. If a student has mentioned computer virus solution as a firewall, then he cannot mention the term firewall in any other term, like for hacking or for spyware. He has to mention some other solution, not firewall, because he has already used firewall, or if he has used anti-malware somewhere, that he cannot use that term also. For hacking, how can you protect yourself? Firewall, in case you have not written it as the first answer. Passwords, biometrics, and two-step verification. For part number 3, spyware, you can either use anti-malware, spyware software. Again, cannot be awarded if used for computer virus. Two-step verification cannot be awarded if used for hacking. Firewall cannot be awarded if used for computer virus or hacking. So we have to be very, very cautious whenever we are writing down the answers, that we have to write down a security solution which is correct and different as well. Any questions? Okay. After we are done with this 3-mark question, the next part, B, is dealing with explanation, describing how each solution you identified in part A will help you protect your computer system. Now, if, for example, a student has written anti-malware or virus, antivirus, then he has to write down 2 bullet points for this. Very simple. The job of antivirus is to scan the computer system for viruses, has a record of known viruses because it has kept a database that is containing all the details of all the known viruses, removes or quarantines any viruses that are being found, it checks data before it is downloaded, and stops download if virus is found, or warns the user in case a virus has been detected. So now we have to write down any 2 valid points, and you are able to score 2 out of 2 very easily. In case a student has selected anti-malware or spyware, anti-malware or anti-spyware, then he can write down the answer, scans the computer for spyware, removes, quarantines any spyware that is found, and can prevent spyware being downloaded. For the term firewall, what the student can write is, it is meant to monitor the traffic coming in and going out of the computer system. Be clear, be cautious that whatever is underlined are the key terms that need to be mentioned in your answer. The job of firewall is to check the traffic is going to meet any criteria or the rules that are being set. It blocks any traffic that does not meet the criteria. So be cautious. You have to write down the keywords, and only then you will be able to score 2 out of 2, again, if the student has written firewall as the right option for computer virus solution. Any questions? Okay, now that's great. For hacking, if a student has written the option as firewall, again, the same is applicable. But in case he has opted for password for securing yourself from hacking, then he has to write down the correct answer, he has to make the password stronger. By the way, by example means that student should write down an example. Like, for example, I can say I'm going to make the password stronger by using a combination of letters, numbers, and special characters. I can simply say that I'm going to use capital and small letters and a number and a special character also to make my password not easy to be guessed. Changing it regularly, again, a very important thing that we can do, and lock out after set number of attempts, like that is a very important step also, that it should not be a never-ending process. Once the password has been entered, then after a certain time interval, after a certain number of attempts, then that password should not be allowed to be re-entered. Biometrics. In case a student has opted for biometrics, data needs to be entered that is unique, because no two persons can ever have the value that are same. It is going to log out after a set number of attempts. So this is also something that is going to happen, and you may have observed that maybe for the fingerprint scanning or for the voice recognition systems, and after a few attempts, then the system is not allowing you to go for any further attempt, and that is just a mean to protect yourself, to protect your computer, your device from some sort of threat. That is one of the means that are being used. Two-step verification, extra data is sent to device preset by the user, making it more difficult for hacker to obtain it. Data has to be entered into the system. Also, if attempted from a remote location, it will not be accepted. Two-step verification is also one of the very important solutions that we are using nowadays to protect our computer system from any sort of threat. Any questions? Spyware solution. Anti-malware spyware, in case the student has not mentioned in the first two, then he is going to write down the valid answer and he will be able to score marks. Two-step verification cannot be awarded if used for hacking. Firewall cannot be awarded if used for computer virus or hacking. Question number 5, a very simple one. Complete the statements about different types of programming language. Use the terms from the list. Some of the terms in the list will not be used. You should only use a term once, and that is again certain instructions that are given to you. The structure of language statements in a computer program is called the syntax. Simple, that we all know. A programming language that uses natural language statements is called a high-level language. The ones that humans comprehend, the ones that is closer to the human language is the high-level language. When programs are written in this type of language, they need a translator to convert them into machine code. I think this is something that we all know. A programming language that is written using mnemonic code is called an assembly language. This is an example of a low-level language. So in this manner, there are 6 blanks. You have to select from the available list, and you can easily score 6 out of 6 in this question. Part B. A programmer often uses an integrated development environment, or IDE, when writing a computer program. Give 3 common features of an IDE. A very simple question. You have learned them. You are aware of these functions. So here, all the functions that are available are jotted down. So you can select any 3 from them. Just write them down, and you are able to score 3 out of 3. Code editor, runtime environment, translator, error diagnostics, auto-completion, auto-correction, pretty printing. Okay, at the moment, I'm not going into detail because you already are aware of, but if you want, you can watch the video regarding the translators and IDE, and you'll be able to understand this topic very easily, so that no one has any problem with this topic. Yes? Question number 6. A finance company uses cloud storage to archive their accounts. Describe what is meant by cloud storage. Very simple, a 2-mark question. A storage consisting of servers which are present in remote locations, and they are often maintained or backed up by the third-party company. And this storage is normally accessed using a network, often the internet. So if you write down in any way the description of the cloud storage, you can easily score 2 out of 2. Part B. The computers in the finance company use both primary and secondary storage. One example of primary storage is ROM. Give one other example of primary storage. So definitely the other primary storage is RAM. You simply write down RAM and you're able to score 1 out of 1. Give 2 examples of secondary storage. Now, if you recall secondary storage, the examples are hard disk drive or HDD in short. solid state drive or SSD in short. And if the student has written these two, perfectly okay. But in case a student has written any other answer, like a CD or a DVD, or he has written a Blu-ray disc or any other that comes to his mind, which is a valid one, then he will be able to score 2 out of 2 very easily. Isn't it easy? Okay. The computers also use virtual memory. Describe how virtual memory is created and used. By the way, I hope that we are clear about this term also. What is a virtual memory? Something that is created on the empty area of a hard drive. So hard drive is partitioned to create virtual memory. This is what we already know. When RAM is full, when RAM is not able to store any more data, then what happens is pages of data that are not required are transferred from RAM to virtual memory. So now please remember, whichever pages, whichever parts of the program that are not needed, that are not required at the moment, which are not in use, are transferred from RAM to virtual memory. When the data is required again, the pages are transferred back to RAM. So this is a continuous process. So if you have written this answer in the proper manner, in a sequence, so you can very easily score 4 out of 4. Very simple to score as well. Question number 7. In a computer system, the operating system is run directly on the firmware. Identify which type of software runs directly on the operating system. Application software. So simple. One function of an operating system is to manage interrupts. Give 2 examples of when an interrupt would be generated. Now, I hope that we all remember the term interrupt. We all have done it, understood it well. So if you recall, a few examples I mentioned here, you can think of any other example also. Like division by 0 is mentioned here. By the way, do we remember what is division by 0? That's great, Ali. Definitely, if you have a 0 in the denominator and if you divide the value, if you divide any value which has a 0 in the denominator, then it results in infinity, which is actually a 0 error. You know, you have done it even in math, you know it with the help of the calculator also. So division by 0 is going to generate an interrupt. 2 processes trying to access the same memory location. Similarly, you can recall, by the way, can you recall any other example of interrupts? That's great, wonderful. Printer out of paper, paper jam in the printer. So these all are valid examples of your interrupt handling. Question number 8. Digital currency can be used to buy products from the World Wide Web. State what is meant by a digital currency. Simple. A currency that exists only in electronic form. Something that is not physical, something that is only existing in electronic form is going to be called digital currency. Any questions? You can describe the process of blockchain in digital currency. So if you have written any 2 valid points, then you are definitely going to score 2 out of 2 in this part of the question. It acts as a ledger. And this ledger, if you know, this is going to keep, a ledger is basically going to keep a record of all the transactions. So it is going to act as a ledger by tracking each transaction. It keeps a series of time-stamped records that cannot be altered. So the biggest advantage is the value that are mentioned in the blockchain are not altered. Question number 9. The following data is stored as a text file. Now you can see red, green, yellow, green, purple, blue, red, purple, blue, yellow, gray, black, pink, red. Explain how lossless compression would compress this file. By the way, do we remember lossless compression? Is it reversible or non-reversible? That's great. It's reversible. So if you have written any 5 valid points, because the questions are 5 marks, then you can easily score 5 out of 5. I mean, this is an easy part, isn't it? A compression algorithm is being used. No data is removed in the process. Original file can be restored. Repeated words. Now, how is this being done? Repeated words or symbols are identified. Patterns in the data are identified. So here you can see the pattern is, by the way, what is the pattern? Values are, for example, red is occurring 1, 2, 3 times. I can see thrice. Similarly, green is occurring 1, 2. I can see once, twice here. Similarly, yellow is also occurring more than once. Similarly, the word purple is also occurring, no, purple is also occurring more than once. So in this manner, the repeated words you can see are going to be identified first, and they are indexed or they are put into a table. As you can see, the word red or green or yellow and purple and all the repeated words are going to be indexed and put into a table. They are replaced with their index. For example, you can say that red will be maybe given a value 1. Similarly, the word green is going to be given a value 2. Similarly, the word yellow is given a value 3. So in this manner, all the values, all the repeated values are going to be indexed and they will be given a certain value. And then their positions are stored in the table. And the number of times the word or the pattern appears is stored in the table. So again, you can see how many times is the word red occurring, how many places is it occurring. So if you have explained it in the proper manner, and now remember, here they are just the key points. You have to learn how to explain your answer, and only then you will be able to score 5 out of 5. Isn't it easy? That's great. Question number 10. An expert system is an example of AI, artificial intelligence. One component of an expert system is a knowledge base. Explain why an expert system needs a knowledge base. By the way, do we remember what is a knowledge base? Excellent, Ahmed. It's a database of knowledge about a particular subject. So why is it needed? It needs facts, which are needed to generate the rules, and these are needed to make the decisions. And the data that is present in a knowledge base is essential for the decision-making process. So if you have written 3 valid points, you can easily score 3 out of 3. Part B, identify 3 other components that are present in an expert system. So component, in any order, you can write down rule base, inference engine, and user interface. Or sometimes you can even write down interface, but I suggest that you write down the term properly, that is user interface. Part C, an expert system can make use of machine learning. State what is meant by machine learning. When a program has the ability to automatically adapt to its own processes and or data. So that is going to be a very comprehensive meaning of the word machine learning. So in this manner, you can easily score 1 out of 1. Question number 11. An office has an automated lighting system. When movement is detected in the office, the lights are switched on. If movement is not detected for a period of 2 minutes, the lights are switched off. The system uses a sensor and a microprocessor. Identify the most appropriate sensor. So since the word movement is being used here, so that is why the most appropriate sensor will be infrared sensor. Describe what is meant by a microprocessor. Type of integrated circuit that is contained on a single chip. So if a student has written the definition of a microprocessor properly, so he will be able to score 2 out of 2 if he has written the answer in the form of 2 valid points. This was simple. I hope that there is no problem. Now, the last part that needs your understanding is describe how the sensor and the microprocessor are used in this automated lighting system. Now, this remember, please, since it is, by the way, is it controlling or is it monitoring? Okay, that's great. It's controlling. Why? The first thing that you need to identify is you need to know which sensors are being used, and the process is very simple. So first stage is sensors send data or signal to the microprocessor. After the data is, now please remember, since sensor readings are analog in nature, that is why the data has to be converted from analog to digital using ADC, analog to digital converter. These values are compared to the preset values to the stored values. If values outside the range or it matches, the microprocessor sends the signal to switch the light on. Now, please remember, since an action is being performed, the process is switching on and off of the lights. That is why the role of an actuator is definitely going to be used here. And that is why I asked you in the beginning, it's a controlling application. Actuator is used to switch the light on or off. So you have to understand it very well that you have to, one student may have written this switch, these lights are switched on. and the student must have written his lights are switched off. So definitely you have to write down in a proper manner. And the timer is set for 2 minutes. That's why every time the movement is detected, the timer is reset. When timer reaches 0 or 120 times, then it is microprocessor sends a signal to switch the lights off. The process is continuous. Please remember the process is continuous. That is the most important thing, that you can either use the term process is continuous, or you can say it's a feedback loop. So it's a continuous process. So if you have written the answer, writing down 6 valid points, and you have maintained the right order, then you can easily score 6 out of 6. Fair to everyone? Okay, now children, thank you very much for being a part of this learning journey. Inshallah, we are going to meet again with another new video regarding the papers. So stay tuned, stay updated. So please subscribe my channel, and so that you can be updated of whatever is happening in everything. Okay, Allah Hafiz. Jazakallahu khairan kaseera. Allah Hafiz.